Hi guys.
So today we're going to start into a very large project that has been building up and building up and building up. We started with being woken up at what, 2:30 in the morning one day?
Yes.
With the tap blowing off of our water filter. The water pressure blew it up onto the counter and filled our countertop and our drawers and under
There
our
was
sink.
water everywhere.
There was. That one was a little bit bent up, so we bought a replacement and we thought that's going to fix it. And it's just a carbon filter, which is not really what we wanted, but we didn't want to make a big purchase for a filtration system.
And as you can guess, didn't work.
A few days later it blew up. Then not long ago, our water pump started running more and more and more, our freshwater pump, and we couldn't find a leak big enough to account for why it was doing that until it blew one of its own lines off and we realized the pressure switch doesn't work. So we replaced that water pump, and now we are ready to install the larger water filtration system because we've been drinking bottled water, and frankly that's kind of a pain and it's expensive and we don't want to do it anymore. This is the Acuva Aero 5 UV LED water disinfection system, not just filtration. The reason we got this particular one is because we did a bunch of research and then we took a look at one of the channels that's responsible for getting us involved in this particular lifestyle, and yes, we still hold it against them. On Gone with the Winds, they use this particular system and a remineralization filter that they add on after the system to make the water healthy again, to restore the minerals to the water. And we know that nothing ever goes wrong for the winds, so we thought this is the one to go with.
Why you gotta be like that, bro?
So let's open up the box and see what we got.
Where is it? There we go. This and the instructions and lift. It's heavy, by the way.
We're going with power supply.
Yeah. No, you're doing that. Can I have that, please? Thank you.
So what do we got in that box?
Sorry. Ooh.
Ooh.
Piece of candy. This
would be the body of the unit. We've not looked at any of the instructions, so we don't know what we're looking at any more than you do.
Yeah, this is the fresh opening of this box. And it's really super heavy. That's why it's got...
We'll mount it to the keel.
The mounts. It'll add to the weight of the keel. All right.
We're going to need a second one. We have 2 keels.
I can use this for exercise. That's cool.
Okay.
So there it is. There's that unit.
UV LED water purifier.
Purifier. Just put that over there. And what's that? What
I'm
part
going
of
with this is a filter of some sort. So we've got a filter, we've got a power supply, we've got another plug here.
Is there anything in that box?
I would assume so.
Let's find out.
We've got tubing, other tubing, switches and mounting brackets, a T-valve. This is a genuine, what do you call it? I saw this on the Buddy What's His Name of the Other Fellow show.
I missed my cue.
Metal
What's
bracket.
in the box?
And interesting.
What are this?
It's a bag of stuff. It's the tap.
Ooh, pretty.
And this is one of those ones that's got the pretty blue light underneath it to tell you that everything hasn't exploded yet. And I'm only assuming because I've read 0 instructions.
Now we're gonna lay this all out and be ready to go. When we start to install this, we're gonna try to emulate Teal from Onboard Lifestyle. And I know we're not gonna do as well as he does with all of his videos, but we're gonna give it a shot.
Now, we all know how guys operate with instructions. So let's go get started.
Here we go. Wish us luck.
Alright, so step one wasn't too bad. I wasn't sure if the faucet was going to fit on the counter, but I think we've made it fit. And that's all bolted on. Here's our connection to run this to the main unit. That'll tell us what it's doing when this ring lights up. So the next step is to find a power source and to tap into the water source and then run the lines. Now the other big thing we've got to do is find a place to mount the main unit and the two filters. There's a pre-filter that comes with the Acuva Aero 5, and there's a filter that we've purchased to remineralize afterward. Because if the water is too pure, it's not good for you anymore. There's nothing in it for you. So we're going to remineralize with this. I have to find room for all the parts. So we've got this bulkhead here, which will fit the main power unit, but it's very snug and there's not much room for anything else. We could try to go to the back wall, which that leads out to the cockpit. I'm not sure I want to be drilling holes into that. Or we've got this space down here, which is a much larger space, and I think we can put all of our parts in there. So I'm going to test fit that after I check for power. So the power that we need to get is going to be grabbed from up here. This channel has all kinds of wires running through it. So the plan is to grab power from up in this channel, feed it down through this channel here. It's kind of hard to see. Let's try it over here. Feed it down through this channel. There may be an issue right here. I'll almost guarantee there's going to be. So we might need to come out, drill out, and then run down the rest of the channel. So there might be a little bit of wire exposed here. We'll put a little split loom on it. And down into here, where we're going to try to tie the wires together. There is a conduit running through here that runs all the way into the sink. But the way the conduit is cut out, there should be room to feed the wire through that, and that's what we're going to try to do. Once we have that done, we'll have our 12 volts and we'll be able to power up the system. Then the next step is getting the water to it. And that ought to be a blast. Very little on a boat gets done without some ripping and tearing. So this panel's got to drop out and then we'll start fishing our wires. This door channel here terminates up here and it is open at the top. With the electrical more or less completed, it's time to move on to positioning everything and making sure we have enough hose to reach everything, make sure everything's the right size. So I've run the wire from our water pressure switch on the board up through the overhead, down through this channel, and into this compartment here where we've threaded it out and through. You can see here where the old water filter was hooked up. That is, everything there is completely the wrong size. That's just not going to work. So what we're going to have to do is cut the cold water line, install this T in the line, run another line from this T down below to this back wall. I plan to put this Acuva unit on this back wall. That way I can see all the connections and we can see the lights, make sure everything's working. So we've got to install the DIN rail to mount the Acuva unit too on this back wall. It's kind of a pain to get at and install everything, but it's going to get it all out of the way so that we have full use of this cabinet. We'll also install the pre-filter, make sure we get it running in the correct direction. Post filter, which appears to use the smaller line. We'll adapt it before it goes to that. And then that smaller line will go up to the smart faucet, which is on the sink. All right, one of the scariest parts is over. We have teed into the line right there, and it doesn't seem to be leaking. So we'll begin running all the rest of the hoses and filters. But first, we have to mount the rail. So we ran into some problems we had not expected with the tap. Go figure. So Acuva sends this really nice brushed metal finish purified water tap with the plug-in jack to plug it into the main unit under the sink. And we tested it with the hole that's already in our countertop, and it fits barely, but it fits. The problem comes when we got to the thickness of the countertop. Now you would think that'd be all kinds of thickness. However, Acuva uses this really cool adapter system. Because there's a plug coming off, they use a spacer and put the plug through the spacer so that when it goes through the countertop, you can clamp the plug in place without pinching it. Great idea, right? Here's where it all falls apart. This nut that I can't seem to thread is what clamps all this mess together. So far so good. I can clamp it, I can get it good and tight, right? The downside is the hose that has to connect to the bottom connects here at this fitting. And the way it does that is with this nut. And you can see there is no room to clamp on this nut and tighten this whole hose into place. So we spoke to Acuva. You can do a direct chat with Acuva. The person on chat's not going to be able to help you. They're going to put you in touch with the tech department, who's going to email back and forth with you. Oddly enough, the person emailing me at first was also the person I was speaking to in chat. So what they did though is they sent me a second tap. And this tap has a much longer threaded shaft on it than the previous one. And that should be enough for us to grab onto the countertop, even with the spacer, and still be able to get the nut on the bottom. So that's our plan. We're going to be able to install this, and then we're going to install everything underneath as well. So here we go. Let's see what the next problem is. Okay, we already know what the next problem is. Where we cut the 1/2 inch line, the PEX line, and put a fitting on, the fitting that they send you is 1/2 inch to connect into the line, and it tees onto a 3/8 to connect to the PEX line that actually goes to the Acuva unit to be purified. The problem is you might not have 1/2 inch PEX line if your boat is European. You might have 15 millimeter. We don't know if that's the problem. What we do know is this fitting leaks. What we also know is if you've got 15 millimeter, you're going to have a hard time finding a fitting for it. This is a South African boat. We might have an issue with getting the fitting. I have it kind of tie strapped together. I'll show it to you here in a second, and hopefully that'll keep it from falling apart. But if you tug on these lines, they come apart and they leak, and that's going to be a real problem if we're underway, because the boat is moving and thrashing and bashing around, and we don't have a solid way to fit this right now. So I'll show you what we're doing for the moment temporarily, and then if somebody has a suggestion aside from replumbing the entire thing, I'm all ears. All right, so under here is where we installed the fitting that Acuva sends with their water purification system. We cut this line, we installed the PEX fitting. As hard as we can push it, it still won't click into place. You can see where it's flexed here. I've got it zip tied together right now to keep it from leaking, and it appears to be working. We've been checking it regularly. Got a little bowl here. This is the old system here. So there's where the water line comes out and runs down to the purifier down here. But we need to replace this with something that's actually going to grip these lines and keep them from leaking. So far we found nothing. So wish us luck, and if you have any suggestions aside from replumbing everything, please feel free to let us know.